I'd like to start out by saying that we're sad to see Tom Abels leave us. So I looked up some stats today that I'd like to share with you because it's pretty amazing. 91 years old, 72 seasons. He saw 788 games. And this was one I was really wondering about and worried about, but I know he's happy because he saw 438 wins, 332 losses, and 18 ties. You had to be going to a lot of football games way back when to see 18 ties now. But he had a winning percentage of about 60% or 600. That's not bad. So he's up there probably smiling right now because he's excited about watching up there and watching the game this weekend. But we're sad to see him go. He was he's might be the best fan there ever was, but he was for sure one of the best Aztec fans there ever was. So we're going to miss him, and hopefully he'll look over us because we got a very tough game this week. Maybe he'll give us a little extra push from up there, and maybe he'll get us over the hump.
Rocky, you obviously had a chance to meet him over time, since he saw a lot of your games and things. Do you have a little extra to add about, your relationship with him or the team's relationship with him?
Well, we kind of got used to having him around. I mean, he was at almost every game up until the last year or so. He traveled with us in the airplane and everything, so he was around all the time. He was more like a coaching staff member than he was a fan. But because up until this year, he was always on the sidelines too. And then we started worrying about him getting run over down there, so we asked him to move up once the game started into the stands, and I'm sure that upset him a little bit, but he did it because he's a team guy. And I mean, he's talked to the team 2 or 3 times, and all the veteran or the older players in our program know who he is, and I'm sure they are sad to see that he's not going to be around.
What kind of messaging did he give to the team other than his being there, for every game?
Oh, he didn't say much except that he was a fan of theirs and wished them the best and keep fighting and that kind of thing.
Any thought about sticker on the helmet or something painted on the field in his memory?
I think that we're working on appropriate actions for this game right now. I haven't heard what the final outcome is.
Going back through, can you give us the temperature of your team when you saw them Sunday, Monday, after their first loss of the year?
We didn't see him Sunday. We saw him yesterday. And they all watched the film together. And hopefully they learned a lot of things from watching the film. But it's really not anything earth-shattering that happened to us. They played, it wasn't an X and O thing. They played more physical at the line of scrimmage, and I don't think it was a lack of will or want to, but they played with a lot better technique, which means they played with lower pad level and played with better leverage. And when you play with lower pad level and you play with better leverage, you're able to get off blocks and make tackles. And we never overcame that on offense. On defense, our guys played pretty good on defense up front until late in the game when we had to stop them to have a chance to win, and we couldn't stop them. So the same thing happened. Their offensive line played with lower pad level and extended and stepped with the right feet, and we didn't. Our fundamentals weren't as good as their fundamentals. And so what happens is they're a more physical team because they did it better than we did it.
Give out a Purple Heart to your quarterback, 5 sacks, 24 hits. That's an awful lot of punishment.
Yeah, that is. He's a competitor, though. He was all right.
Was what happened in the defensive front just a byproduct of their physicality and your really young pups in the offensive line?
Well, I think some of it has to do with fundamentals and techniques. They're older, more mature guys up there than our guys that were trying to block them. That has something to do with it.
Is that the best defensive front seven maybe you've seen in a long time?
No. In fact, I think that it's very comparable. We've played a couple. Now I think we've played really 3 really good front sevens. Now, they played better against us than the other ones did. And now I don't know if that was them or if that was us.
offensive line starting to experience now that you're midway through the season, but all the injuries are cropping up. I think only one guy is totally healthy. Out of those 5 guys, how much are the injuries starting to make an impact on the line?
I think this time of year everybody's beat up. I think more veteran players are able to play better, not 100%, because as you get older and more mature, you play that way a lot. So you're able to play at a high level no matter if something hurts or not. When you're young and it's the first time you've ever been kind of hurting, it's very, very difficult to be mature enough and tough enough to overcome a slight injury or two and play at a same high level. Veteran guys learn how to do that. NFL guys learn how to do that because they do it forever. Most of the time when you get a freshman or a redshirt freshman playing, he's never been ever hurt, especially if he's the biggest guy on the field. And all of a sudden they get a little twisted ankle or they get stepped on or they have a little sore knee or something and they can't perform at the same level because they've never learned how to. So we're more experienced now on assignments and all that stuff, but we're a very young football team up front when it comes to playing with nicks and bruises.
Obviously, you don't know the answer to this until Saturday, but how do you think you guys are going to respond to a loss and the fact that, I mean, your goals haven't changed. Obviously, winning the conference is still there for you, and I know that's what you talk about, but do you have a good sense that they're going to respond to that loss?
I don't think, after watching the film, I don't have any question in my mind that they're going to try hard. They tried hard last Saturday. I didn't see anybody give up. I didn't see anybody quit. I didn't see any of that. So I know they're going to try hard. The level they play at, I don't have any idea what level they're going to be able to play at.
Is that the most electric you've seen that stadium in a while? What was it like on the sidelines?
That was, I mean, it was nice. I mean, it was. I mean, it's good to see a big crowd there. It wasn't overly noisy. I mean, I think the Stanford game was just as loud. I think the championship game in 2015, when there was only 26,000 people, was just as loud and just as enthusiastic and just as much energy. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to see all those people there. I hope they come back. We'll see what kind of fans they are. Real good fans come back.
Each week we talk about it being a big game, but this one seems like it has really some implications because if you win, you're still in the driver's seat in your division, but if you lose, you're essentially 3 games back.
Yeah, I think personally I made a mistake about the way I approached last week's game. And it has something to do with young football players. This game's no more important than next week's game or last week's game. And I think we approached, maybe subtly, but we approached last week's game as more important. And our team did not handle that the right way. So you guys can build it up all you want. This game is important. It's an important game, but it's not going to make or break our season, and it's no more important than next week's game.
But when you're going head-to-head with the team...
I understand all that. I understand all that. It doesn't make it any more important.
Going down 14-0 so early in the game with a young team, is that just what did you see with your young players and how they responded?
Well, I have some philosophers that I live near, and we were talking about the game because they watch. They don't come, but they watch because they live in my alley. We were talking about the game the other day, and I don't know where they saw it, but they saw it. And they said, if you don't give up those 2 touchdowns early, do you know what the score was? And I had no idea. 17-14. Okay? Going into the game, I thought it was going to be a great game. I didn't know which team was going to win, but I thought it was going to be one of those 3-point games. So the extra points are those 2 plays. So if you get in a 3-point game, obviously one player or the other is going to make a huge difference. I didn't realize it was 17-14 if you don't count those 2 plays. So maybe that game, we're talking like it was a blowout. Maybe that game was a whole lot closer than everybody's giving it credit for.
Well, you outgained them. You had better time of possession. I mean, so it's
Now, time of possession is because they scored a couple times where they didn't get the ball.
I wanted to ask about the second touchdown that they got on the flip by Christian Chapman. I honestly, when I saw it live standing down there near you, I thought that was a fumble and a touchdown. But when I saw the replay, I really thought it was very close to being forward. Did they at least give you an explanation on the side? Did anybody, I mean, because that was a pretty big call right there.
Yeah, it was a big call. The official thought it was a lateral, and that's the way they called it on the field. And nothing in the replay booth would dispute it. I don't know how they say that on TV, but nothing that they could tell for sure if it was a lateral or not, so they stayed with the call that was on the field.
When you looked at your video, what did you see?
No, I think it's hard to tell. But more important, we've got a really good football team coming in here this week, because that game's long gone, and it wasn't that important anyway. What's important is the one that's next on the schedule. That's what's important. And that's the way you ought to handle every team, no matter what the hype is around the game.
You've known Ted for a long time. How has he flipped this? How has he turned it?
I think that him and his staff have done a great job of coaching, because those were talented. When you watch them on film, those are very talented players that have gotten a new lease on life, because it doesn't mean it's a better approach. It just means it's a new approach. And they've taken to the new approach by the new coaching staff, and they've had some success. And so now they're playing at a high level with a lot of confidence. But when you watch them on film, they're a very talented football team. You wouldn't have known that after last year that they had that kind of talent out there, because those players weren't playing with the same energy or want to that they're playing with now. And then obviously they have a new starting quarterback that is playing at a very, very high level. And you don't win without your quarterback playing well. And so they have a quarterback that's playing well, so they're playing at a much higher level. We're going to get a very confident team coming in here, because of they've won the last 3, and last week they won 38-0, which was their second shutout of the season, and held a team that rushes for almost 400 yards a game to about 100 yards in that game. So they're coming in with a lot of confidence and a lot of energy, and they'll be very positive. It's going to be a heck of a football game, I think.
Rocky, it's kind of the nature of the beast, isn't it, that, you know, a couple of years ago, not saying you, were going, oh my God, Fresno's a disaster. It's going to take years to come back from this, the whole thing, and then boom, quarterback, new coaching staff, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, you're seeing a sign of my world now. This is not, even though we want to make it this way, this is not pro football. These are college kids. And one day they can be really, really good, and the next day they can be really, really bad. And you never know what you're going to get. So when you watch them on film, you're wondering how they lost all those games last year, because they've got a whole bunch of good athletes and good football players out there. And this staff did not recruit those guys. These are guys from the other staff. So the other staff did a great job of recruiting. But something happened emotionally there that those kids weren't playing at a very high level. Well, they got a new lease on life with a new coaching staff that has a different attitude and a different approach, and now they're playing at a high level. That doesn't happen in the NFL. You know, the NFL doesn't have the same emotional content. There are a lot more mature, older guys. They play for money, not for the love of the game. And the way you win is get the best players. And you can't do that in 1 year. Even if you have all the money in the world, you can't do that in 1 year, because most of those guys are on contracts to other people. But you can, in pro football, you can buy a football team now that wins a whole bunch of games. In college football, it's all about having enough talent, but it's more about motivation and incentive and how bad they want to play and how bad they want to be good. Well, this coaching staff has made them want to be good, and they're playing at a very high level.
Can you talk about the Oregon State quarterback? He is a difference maker, though. McMarion.
Oh, I was wondering to Oregon State. What quarterback?
transfer.
Yeah, I know he's a transfer. No, I think he's made a huge difference. Very accurate with the football. He's got 3 really good wide receivers. He's very accurate with the football. He can run it when he wants to or has to. He can run with the ball. He plays with a lot of confidence. I think now you're going to have to help me on this. I think I read someplace where he started 18 games or something at Oregon State. So it's not like you're getting a brand new, inexperienced quarterback. You're getting a veteran quarterback. And probably he has a new lease on life too, because he probably wasn't winning main games at Oregon State.
Trevelyan catching a 90-yard touchdown pass. I mean, can one play like that help a young player take the step forward or to start taking advantage of some of the talent that we know he has?
Mm-hmm. He certainly can help your confidence level, for sure. I mean, he's a big, fast guy. Now, we also have to be able to get him in one-on-one situations, and we have to give our quarterback enough time to throw it to him, too. There's other things involved, but, yeah, that can help your confidence dramatically. I mean, he caught a couple good passes.
Rocky, what's your evaluation just overall of the wide receivers this year? And I think last that touchdown was, I believe, the first you guys have scored with a wide receiver this year.
Well, I think we got 2 veteran receivers that are pretty good players, and we have Fred Trevelyan being one of them. We have 3 or 4 young wide receivers in our program that are potentially very, very good players. They're not right now, but they're potentially very good players.